last year I made a reading tracker blanket. So let's talk a little bit about how my 2024 reading blanket turned out, and then what I changed and what I'm doing differently for my 2025 reading tracker crochet project. I wanted to track as many things as possible with my blanket, and so each colored stripe represents a different book that I read last year. As you can tell, some of them are thicker, some are thinner. So depending on the number of pages that the book had, I did a different number of rows for the stripe. The black was just to separate in between the books. So when I read 2 books of the same genre in a row, I knew where the break was between the books. And then these thicker black lines showed the break between the different months. Now there were some things that I really loved about this blanket, and some things that I wanted to do differently this year. So I just did the same stitch throughout, which made it easy for me to just, if I was watching a show or listening to my audiobook or something like that, I could just do the stitch and I didn't really have to think about it too much. And that was good in some ways, but in other ways, like, I got a little bit bored I did the moss stitch, just doing the moss stitch over and over and over again. Then I do like seeing the different sizes of the stripes depending on how big the book was, but it ended up being a lot of rows. And so some of the books, like this one has 1, 2, 3, 4 rows, and this one has 2 rows, but I read 93 books last year. And so that ends up with an average of probably 3 or 4 rows per book. There's a lot of rows. And then I got a little bit behind. In fact, I'm still working on it right now. I'm still on September, so I'm trying to catch up. But it ended up making this blanket humongous. It's already humongous, and I still have September, October, November, 4 months left to crochet onto this blanket. So that's a bit much. But it is it's solid. It has a good heaviness to it, kind of like a weighted blanket, but it's not that weighted, but it's kind of a nice, as I'm crocheting, I have it kind of sitting on me, and it's a nice feeling blanket. So I really do like those things about it. Now this year for my blanket, I originally didn't want to do a blanket. I wanted to do something different. I already had this blanket that I made last year. Did I need another blanket? So I was looking at how could I change up maybe a shawl or a sweater or a skirt or something that I could crochet that I could wear as my reading tracker item. But as I looked into it, I got really close to doing a shawl or a sweater, but I decided that since I haven't crocheted myself an article of clothing yet. And so I thought maybe I needed to crochet an article of clothing by the pattern before I started trying to change things up in order to make it fit my reading tracker goal idea, At that time, I found a really cool blanket pattern that was like a stash busting one to try and get rid of, all your different colors of yarn. And it had a bunch of different stitches in the pattern. And I thought, this would be a good idea. I could just do a different stitch in a different color for each book, and then I would get to learn all these different crochet stitches. And then next year, I'm hoping to do an article of clothing that can be my reading tracker thing for the year. Now, I don't have a big stash of lots of different colors of yarn, and so I did end up buying a bunch of different colors of yarn. In fact, here's my bucket of yarn with all these different colors. And I decided what I was going to do was for each book that I read, I would choose a color from the cover of the book, and that would be my color for that book. And then I would just do one row, or so here we go. So here's January. You notice that some of them, like this off-white color and this, what is this color? This autumn maize color, you see that it's, they're a little bit bigger, and that's, I mean, part of that is because some of the rows are going to be bigger because you're doing different stitches. But some of it is in order to make this kind of pattern for that stitch, it needed a couple of rows. So some of them are ending up being more than one row, but I'm okay with that. This off-white, I did consider changing colors for this part down here. And if I had it to do over again, I probably would, but that's okay. You learn as you go. So it is kind of interesting because it looks like I did a blue and then a pink and then a blue. But the pink just kind of went in between the blue. And so this blue is still just one book that I read, and then the pink is one book. Anyway, I mean, it maybe makes it a little bit confusing, but so far it's nice to be doing lots of different colors instead of just the blues. I loved my blue blanket. I loved that. And now I'm done with the blue blanket. Well, not quite done with the blue blanket, but you get what I'm saying. Now I'm moving on, and it's kind of fun to be able to do all the different colors. So I'm enjoying this so far, and I look forward to seeing how it turns out. If you want to do something like this and join along, the pattern, something like Seaside Stash Busting Blanket. Oh, it was a crochet along. You can just buy the completed whole pattern on Etsy, I believe. I'll link it below. Or you can go to her blog, and she has it week by week, doing all the different stitches. And so here's my new 2025 reading blanket. I'm really loving it. Is this something that you would do? How do you track your reading? Maybe you have a reading journal. I've seen people make like little snake, like every go round, every crocheted round is a different book. I've seen people do it with granny squares. There are so many different ways that you can do it, and it's really fun seeing how different people do that and seeing their creativity. So if you have a way that you are tracking your reading, let me know in the comments. Tell me how it's working out for you, if you're loving it. So what do you think? Have I inspired you to start a reading tracker blanket or some other sort of project to track your reading? Let me know. Not sure what else to tell you. I feel like I'm forgetting something. Let's try that again. Yarn keeps splitting. There we go. Have you heard of this? I just start stumbling over my words, and let me just make sure that we're recording. Yes, we are. I hope you enjoyed my hip. Okay.